The combat simulator just classified the human recruit as a Class 30 extinction threat, and she's asking if anyone has a hair tie. Commander Zillax stared at the holographic display, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as if the gesture might correct what was clearly a catastrophic system malfunction. In 300 years of operation, the Academy's quantum combat predictor had never been wrong. It had assessed recruits from 400 species across 2 galaxies. It had evaluated candidates who became legendary warriors and correctly identified washouts before they entered their first scenario. The system didn't make errors, except now it was showing readings that should only appear during planetary extinction events. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Sir, the threat classification is holding stable, his assistant reported, her voice climbing an octave. All defensive protocols are engaging automatically. The Council Defense Force just received an automated standby alert. Through the observation window, Zillax could see the human in question. Emma Johnson sat in the holding area, one leg crossed over the other, pulling her brown hair back into some kind of tied arrangement. She looked bored. She looked completely, utterly unremarkable. She'd scored in the bottom 15th percentile for raw strength. Her speed metrics barely registered above minimal thresholds. The other recruits, massive Crothians, sleek Velcorians, armored Thexians, had openly laughed when she'd struggled with the basic obstacle course. One Crothian had suggested she might be better suited for clerical support positions. "Get Admiral Caldra down here immediately," Zillax ordered. "And evacuate all recruits to safe distance. Maximum protocols." "Sir, the human is asking the guard if the exam is starting soon. She seems confused about the delay." Of course she did, because she had no idea that every alarm in the facility was screaming that she was the most dangerous entity to ever enter these halls. Admiral Caldra materialized via emergency transport, her scales shifting through agitated color patterns. "Explain, now." Zillax pulled up the data streams. The quantum predictor classified her as Class 30 the moment she entered the examination dome. That classification has never been assigned to a biological entity. It's reserved for stellar-scale weapons, artificial singularities, reality-breaching phenomena. "I can read the classifications, Commander." Caldra's eyes narrowed. "You're telling me that small human registers as a civilization-ending threat? The system believes she could single-handedly destroy advanced civilizations, yes. That's impossible. Look at her. She failed the preliminary strength assessments. The Crothian recruits were using her as an example of inadequate physical conditioning." "I'm aware, Admiral. Which is why I called you. Either our most reliable system in galactic military history just catastrophically failed, or we fundamentally misunderstand something about humans." Caldra was silent for a long moment. "Where are the xenobiology specialists?" "En route, ETA 4 minutes. Through the window, Emma had found a magazine somewhere and was flipping through it, occasionally laughing at something on the pages. She looked like she was waiting for a dentist appointment, not sitting in a military facility that had just gone to emergency alert status because of her presence. "Start the examination," Caldra decided. "Standard level 3 scenario. But keep every safety protocol active and have medical teams standing by." "Admiral, if the predictor is even partially correct, then we need to know what we're dealing with. Begin." Emma stood as the guard finally opened the door to the examination dome, giving him a friendly smile. "Thanks. Thought maybe I'd gotten the time wrong." The dome sealed behind her with a finality that made the observation room tense. 50 instructors and analysts had crowded in, all wanting to witness this impossibility. "Level 3 scenario loading," the system announced. "Combat environment, urban warfare. Opponents, 15 enhanced combat drones. Difficulty, standard recruit final examination." Emma stretched her arms above her head, rolling her shoulders. Okay, let's see what you've got. The scenario materialized around her, a cityscape with multiple elevation levels, cover points, and tactical choke points. The combat drones appeared, their weapon systems live with non-lethal rounds that would still hurt like hell. They attacked. What happened next made every analyst in the observation room lean forward simultaneously. Emma moved. Not faster than the drones. Her actual speed was still measurably slower, but she was already where she needed to be before the drones completed their attack patterns. She ducked under a burst of fire that should have caught her center mass, rolled behind cover that she shouldn't have known was there, and came up with a piece of debris in her hand that she threw with casual precision into a drone's sensor array. How did she know that would work? Someone whispered. Replay her response time, Zilax ordered. The computer complied. Frame by frame, it showed Emma reacting not to the drones' actual movements, but to their preparatory positioning. She was reading their intentions before they acted, responding to threats that hadn't yet materialized. That's impossible, Vex Thul, the combat analyst, breathed. She's predicting intent-to-action windows at 98% accuracy. Our best veterans achieve 70%. In the dome, Emma had already disabled 5 drones using improvised tactics that weren't in any training manual. She grabbed a metal beam, used it as a lever to vault onto a higher platform, then dropped the beam onto 2 drones below. While they were impaired, she swept in and manually disabled their mobility systems. She's treating this like a puzzle, Kaldra observed, not like combat. Level 5, Zilax announced, his voice tight. Veteran Soldier Standard, authorization code Zilax 77 Crimson. The scenario shifted. 30 drones now with advanced tactical programming and enhanced weaponry. The difficulty level that made career soldiers sweat. Emma paused, looked around at the new opponents and grinned. Oh, okay, now we're talking. She moved through them like water, never where they expected, always 3 steps ahead of their tactical algorithms. But it was what she did with the environment that made the analysts start taking frantic notes. She used a damaged drone's weapon battery to create an electrical hazard. She collapsed a weak section of wall to create cover and simultaneously trap 4 drones. She improvised a weapon from a piece of rebar and a torn section of drone plating that somehow became remarkably effective. She's weaponizing the scenario itself, Vex Thul muttered, his claws scratching notes across his datapad so fast they were leaving marks. The environment isn't just terrain to her, it's an arsenal. One of the drones got a lucky shot, a non-lethal round that caught Emma in the ribs with enough force to crack bone in most species. She grunted, pressed a hand to her side, and kept moving. Didn't slow down, didn't stop, just incorporated the injury into her tactical assessment and continued. Medical readings show trauma consistent with fractured ribs, the system reported. Subject continuing at 97% combat effectiveness. What's her pain response? Kaldra demanded. Present, acknowledged, not impeding function. That's not how pain works. But Emma was already finishing the level 5 scenario, the last drone sparking on the ground. She leaned against a wall, breathing hard but still standing, and called out, "Is this thing glitching?" The opponent seemed scared at the end there. In the observation room, Vex Thul pulled up the drone behavior logs. His face went very still. She's correct. The tactical AI shifted to defensive protocols in the final 30 seconds. It was trying to survive her, not defeat her. The scenario AI became afraid, someone whispered. Zilax opened the communication channel. Emma Johnson, please hold position. We need to adjust some parameters. Sure, take your time. This is actually pretty fun. Fun. She'd called veteran-level combat scenarios fun. Level 8, Kaldra said flatly. Elite Special Forces Standard. I want to see her limits. Admiral, Level 8 scenarios have a 60% injury rate. She's already injured and doesn't seem to care. Level 8. Now. The scenario loaded. 50 drones, advanced tactical coordination, Lethal force authorized weapons replaced with maximum intensity non-lethal alternatives. The difficulty level that made Special Forces operators question their career choices. Emma cracked her knuckles. Okay, so if I use this panel as a shield and that beam as a lever, yeah, this could work. She was narrating to herself, planning out loud, treating elite-level combat like it was a logic puzzle she was excited to solve. And then she proceeded to dismantle the scenario with the kind of creative brutality that made even seasoned combat instructors flinch. She used physics in ways the scenario designers hadn't anticipated. She created chain reactions that took out multiple drones simultaneously. She moved with a strange combination of caution and absolute confidence, always aware of her limitations, but never limited by them. Pause scenario, Vexthul commanded suddenly. I need to speak with her. The combat zone froze. Emma looked around, spotted the observation window and waved. The communication opened. Ms. Johnson, can you explain your tactical approach? Oh, sure. You know how when you're teaching PE and kids find weird ways to win dodgeball, like they figure out that if you bounce the ball off the wall at a certain angle, it's way harder to catch. I'm just doing what makes sense. Why would I hit hard when I can hit smart? There was a long silence in the observation room. You were a physical education teacher? Vexthul asked carefully. Yeah, high school. Taught gym, health, coached volleyball. Why? And you played these games as a child yourself? I mean, yeah. Doesn't everyone? Tag, hide and seek, capture the flag, dodgeball, kickball. Emma laughed. Though honestly, I was never the most athletic kid. I was better at strategy games than running games. Vexthul slowly turned to face the other analysts. Their young practiced tactical warfare as recreational activity. The implications hit the room like a physical force. Games, Kaeldra repeated slowly. Human children engage in low-stakes combat simulations for entertainment. And she considers herself not particularly athletic by human standards, Zilax added, his voice hollow. Vexthul pulled up Earth's database entry, something that had been filed as a standard new species intake form. He started reading aloud. Earth. Gravity, 1.3 times galactic standard. Atmospheric pressure, elevated. Dominant species, evolved from pursuit predators who developed pack-hunting tactics, tool use, and endurance specialization. Notable, humans evolved simultaneously as both predators and prey, developing threat assessment and strategic planning capabilities in response to hostile megafauna environment. What's his classification? Someone asked quietly. Deathworld, Class 7. The room went silent. Class 7 Deathworlds were rare, planets so hostile that they usually killed emerging intelligent species before they developed space travel. Earth had produced not just survivors, but a species that treated survival as baseline and built recreational combat training into their childhood development. Resume scenario, Kaeldra said softly. But mark my words, in the record. We made a terrible mistake. What mistake, Admiral? We let them think we were assessing them. We should have been asking them for mercy. Emma finished the level 8 scenario with what looked like genuine satisfaction. She was limping now, blood visible from a cut on her forehead, breathing hard, but her eyes were bright with what could only be described as enjoyment. Okay, that was actually pretty good training. What's next? Kaeldra made a decision that would be analyzed in military academies for generations. Level 10, full authorization. I want to see what a human can actually do. Admiral, Level 10 is reserved for testing experimental warforms. I'm aware. Initiate. The scenario that loaded was designed to test mechanical entities, artificial intelligences, bioengineered super soldiers. It had never been intended for biological use. 100 drones, master-level tactical AI, weapons at maximum non-lethal intensity, environmental hazards, time pressure, Strategic objectives. Emma looked around at the nightmare scenario and started laughing. Sure, I could use the workout. This is better than my last CrossFit class. And then she proceeded to not just survive, but thrive. She wasn't just fighting now, she was performing. Every move had purpose, efficiency, brutal effectiveness. She used tactics that made the tactical AI pause in confusion because they were illogical. They worked, but they violated standard combat doctrine in ways the AI couldn't predict. She created cascading failures in the drone formations. She turned the environmental hazards into weapons. She moved through the scenario like she'd done this 1,000 times before, adapting, improvising, learning in real time. Most importantly, she was enjoying it. Adrenaline levels are off the scale, the medical monitor reported, but instead of impairing function, they're enhancing it. Her pain receptors are firing, but the signals are being processed differently, acknowledged but not prioritized. Endurance is, I don't have a comparison. She should have collapsed 10 minutes ago. She's not just surviving extreme stress, Vexthul said slowly, watching Emma dismantle another impossible tactical situation. Her biology is optimized for it. Stress makes her more effective, not less. 20 minutes into a scenario designed to last 5, Emma completed the final objective. She stood in the center of the dome, surrounded by disabled drones, breathing hard, and smiled up at the observation window. Can we do that again? I think I figured out a better approach for the middle section. The examination room door opened, and Emma walked out, wiping blood from her forehead with her sleeve. Hey, is there a bathroom nearby? I should probably clean up before lunch. Behind her, every instructor in the facility was having a simultaneous existential crisis. Kaeldra called an emergency faculty meeting within the hour. The briefing room was packed with instructors, analysts, xenobiologists, and combat specialists, all trying to process what they'd witnessed. Recommendations, Kaeldra demanded. Vexthul stood. Complete curriculum revision for all human recruits. They can't be assessed using our standard metrics. What we consider elite-level performance is their baseline. And Emma Johnson specifically mentioned she was never much of an athlete by human standards. The room absorbed that information with visible discomfort. Their pain tolerance alone puts them in the top 0.01% of galactic species, a medical specialist added. Combined with their threat assessment capabilities, tool improvisation, strategic adaptability, and what appears to be a biological combat enhancement system they call adrenaline. We need new classifications entirely. The simulator difficulty scales need recalibration, another instructor said. Our level 10 scenario was something she described as a good workout. Zilax raised a hand. I'm requesting immediate transfer to the Human Studies Department. If this is what they consider normal, we need specialists who understand Deathworlder psychology. Approved, Kaeldra said immediately. In fact, I'm authorizing a new department entirely. Human Integration Protocol. We need to understand what we're working with. What about the other recruits? Someone asked. The ones who mocked her? I've been monitoring their responses, an aide reported. They're terrified. Several have requested transfers to different training cohorts. Through the window, Emma could be seen in the cafeteria, laughing with 2 other human recruits, eating something that looked like it might violate several dietary safety regulations. What are they discussing? Kaeldra asked. The aide checked the audio feed. Weekend plans. One of them is suggesting something called rock climbing. Another is proposing paintball. They appear to be recreational activities. Of course they are, Vexthul muttered. Their recreation is our nightmare. 3 days later, the Galactic Council received the Academy's report. Within hours, defense doctrines across 12 sectors were being rewritten. Human military integration plans, previously scheduled for gradual implementation over decades, were accelerated to immediate priority. Other species began requesting human tactical advisors. The word Deathworlder took on a new, terrifying significance. In the academy cafeteria, Emma sat with Jennifer Rodriguez and Sarah Jackson, discussing their first week. "How was your combat exam?" Jennifer asked. Emma shrugged, taking a bite of her sandwich. "Pretty good, though I think I broke their simulator." The instructor seemed kind of stressed afterward. "You." Navigation exam was easy. Got an A. Sarah aced xenobiology. "Nice. Oh, hey, there's a pizza place in the station district. Want to grab dinner there Friday?" "Sure. I've been craving Earth food. The cafeteria stuff is okay, but it's so bland." They continued chatting about mundane things, meal plans, upcoming exams, whether the station's gym had decent equipment. Just normal conversation between friends. At a table across the cafeteria, a group of Velcorian recruits watched them nervously. "They look so normal," one whispered. "That's what makes them terrifying," another replied. Emma Johnson broke a level 10 scenario and she's discussing pizza like it's the most important thing in the galaxy. "I heard she was holding back." "What?" One of the analysts said the combat review showed she never went above 80% exertion. She was pacing herself in case there was a level 11. The Velcorians looked at each other, then back at the humans, who were now laughing about something on one of their data devices. In her office, Admiral Caldra reviewed the combat footage for the 15th time. She'd learned to spot the tells, the moments when Emma evaluated threats, the split-second decisions that looked intuitive but were actually the product of sophisticated pattern recognition, the way she constantly maintained awareness of her environment even while appearing casual. But what struck Caldra most was a moment near the end of the level 10 scenario. Emma had been surrounded, outgunned, technically beaten, and she'd smiled. Not grimly, not with resignation, but with genuine excitement, like she'd finally found a worthy challenge. The quantum combat predictor's classification flashed on her screen. Class Thwoth Extinction Threat. For the first time, Caldra didn't think it was wrong. She thought it might be conservative. A chime indicated an incoming message. It was from Emma, requesting permission to access the combat simulator during free time, for practice. Caldra denied the request. Then she sent a message to the council. "We need to talk about human military limitations before we don't have any." In the cafeteria, Emma's laughter echoed again, bright and unconcerned, the sound of someone who had no idea she'd just redefined what Deathworlder meant to an entire galaxy. And perhaps, Caldra thought, that was the most terrifying thing of all. Not that humans were dangerous, but that they genuinely didn't understand why everyone else was afraid.